Oh, you can't hear me? Well, that's not good. What is up, fam? What is up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, day traders, closet swing traders? Man, that mute button gets me a lot. It gets me a lot. It does. But yeah, so today will be a little bit of a volatile day for sure. We do have Jerome Powell speaking. So we had I had mixed information. At first, I heard he was supposed to be going on at 8 a.m. Eastern. And that would have been a little bit of a surprise. That's really early for Jerome Powell. Usually he comes out around 2:30 for usually they'll release a report around 2 and then he talks 2:30. So now I'm hearing that 10 a.m. is when he's talking. Still a little extra early. 8 a.m. would have been, I was thinking, I mean, that could be panic mode at 8 a.m. right before the market opens, trying to shake some things out early so people could digest. 10 a.m. is still early for Jerome Powell, but it's not as bad then. Otherwise, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row, nonstop bullishness. We are finally getting some type of pullback. Let's see where the highest volume came in. I believe it was toward the end of the day yesterday. Yeah, that's after hours. That's strange volume right at the close. Like that's way, way, way heavier than any volume we've seen. Even toward the end of the day, we had a couple big red candles. At least volume wise, one big major green candle toward the end, and a couple higher volume candles as it was selling off a little bit. The last bullish candle was massive compared to this one. I was out opening. Usually the opening and the closing is about the same. Regardless, so we did drop below pretty much a lot of different supports that the market put in, at least intraday yesterday. Again, we're up pretty huge in the last couple days. We're slightly at that 618 retrace. We're just hanging at 618 retrace. I don't know. Again, I don't know what Jerome Powell's going to say or how he's going to move the markets. We've seen the markets drop on him. We've seen it come back on him after people digest some of the news. And don't forget, if we zoom out on this chart, I can't even do it daily. Like this pullback that we had coming into this and this current rally doesn't actually look like much. So I would say, and in bear markets, you do get wild spikes higher before the next move. So just be very cautious of that. I want to flip this to a daily chart as well, just so we can see if there's any divergence. No real divergence, pivot to pivot. Nothing too out of the ordinary as far as RSI is going. A little bit here. So you had a little bit of divergence. That kind of got retested, resettled. So we'll see. We are above the, I believe that's the 200. We're above the 200 EMA right now is where we closed. We're still hanging that line. And we'll see again where this thing opens. But eventually we do get a pullback. I'm not jumping in full force, buying everything that I could find. The stuff I own, and I'll ride the waves with it. But I'm still being very cautious as far as I don't believe I don't believe the selling is over. I still don't honestly believe the Ukraine-Russia news is out of the headlines. It's just been mellowed in a worst case. So we'll see Qs. And we'll go through the Qs were a little bit weaker, I think, yesterday in general. Daily chart, they're still strong. Tesla was a beast. Some of the chips were very weak, though. All things considered, that rally yesterday, and the chips weren't really participating. Intraday, we do have on the 3-minute chart, there is a little bit of divergence. That probably tells me we get some kind of initial bounce. That would make sense. People buy every dip possible, and then maybe we look for some kind of a fade. We will see what happens on that one. But right now, yeah. So even though we did sell off a little bit, The key thing is that we broke that previous pivot. Let me get the annotate. That'd be a little bit better. Otherwise, I'll have 35 million lines again. We did break that pivot. So that's where I'd be looking somewhere around the, what is that, roughly 355.50 range. Maybe some kind of a bounce into that. And then we look for some kind of fade, just because we do have a little bit of divergence on the Qs. So that I think has to get some type of retest, and we look to fade. And again, just if you are in any positions today, make sure that you are very cautious around that 10 a.m. And if I hear any updates as far as new times that come out, we'll update that. If Jerome Powell delays his speech, if we can bring it live, we'll try to do that as well. We'll try to find a link just to see if he's saying anything too crazy. But that's the one thing we definitely have to watch out for today. Let's take a quick look at the stocks that we're looking at for the month and the year. But if you guys have other stocks, interesting gaps, interesting trades, post it in the chat, post it on YouTube, and we will digest it and see how that's working out. Again, the video was a little bit weaker. We do have a little bit of head and shoulders on the video. So right there's the left, there's the head, there's the right. This was the neckline. As soon as we started to break that, and I'm not sure if there was news that came out. I think there was some type of news. I just don't know what it was. As soon as we broke that neckline, we just ended up fading. Today looks like more continued weakness for NVIDIA. So I probably want to lean a little bit more short. We could get a retest into this 263.88, and then probably the spot to look for some type of short. Otherwise, I'm looking at maybe a 1, 2, 3, something like that, 4, 5. But I think NVIDIA has to pull back a little bit. I got to stop using the word has to, because this market, when you think something has to do something, it doesn't. AMD. AMD was kind of following NVIDIA. AMD's also been weaker than NVIDIA in general the last, like during this rally. I feel like AMD just didn't get as much of a pump. We did say yesterday 118 was where we were looking for AMD to fill. It hit so close. We almost nailed it. 117.95, and then this thing is fading down. So let me just find out where targets could be on both NVIDIA and AMD for the high side and the low side today. We have a key VPOC on AMD, like a major one, at 114.73. So we're below that. So if we get any type of a rally or bounce, that's what I'm looking for, 114.73, which would be maybe some kind of a bounce like this, and then reject it for a fade. To the downside, the next real target, we're kind of sitting at it right now. So 113.56, which we're sitting at pretty much right now, pre-market. The other one that has not really been retested or tested was 110.96. So that would be my low of the day target. So I'm seeing if we can get some type of a bounce into that 114.73, and then take that down to 110.93. So about $4 to the downside, if we do get that bounce. NVIDIA has so many spots to go lower. Again, if we get some type of retest, I think we did that already that day. We're right at another VPOC, so 261.19. We're legitimately sitting at it right now. This one might just, we'll see. What I would love to see is a green candle open and we could take the break lower, but otherwise next target is 245.12. So we're going to have our biggest potential on NVIDIA rather than AMD, but AMD is not bad as well. Let's take a look at Tesla. And we are sitting at that VPOC, so we might get that green candle I want to see. Tesla. Just doing Tesla. Tesla been just rampaging I think we fell just shy of $1,000 a share into a very key support resistance zone. So we hit that. We are starting to fade. I could see some kind of a retest back into it. At some point. Again, people still have a little bit of a bullish mentality. Buy the dip is working. VPOC is 192.62. So I'd be looking for maybe a bounce there. We are still above a 10 EMA on a 15-minute chart. So still relative strength. Probably the initial bounce. All right, so pre-market we're at and slightly below that 10 EMA right now. So we'll see what ends up happening. You should have some bulls being trapped, but realistically, not a lot from the last couple of days. So we still might get a little bit of, I don't know, weird moves in Tesla, but eventually I think we do come down. Next target, if this thing starts to really break, would be 919.45. I mean, honestly, I can see all the way back down to 840. So I think Tesla, actually less, 837.68. So we have a lot of room to the downside. I don't necessarily think that happens today, but again, looking for some kind of maybe initial bounce, and then we're going to start looking for some of those targets. Paul in YouTube says, what is VPOC? That's the volume point of control. So actually, yeah, you know what? We've got some time. Let's do a screen share of VPOC. Let me make this one bigger, just so you guys see what I look at on my other screen. That's a good question, Paul. I like the way you're thinking. New share. So this is what I look at the other screen. So any of these, and this is the volume in TradingView. Just put it in volume profile. It should come up. You'll see VPSV. That's the one that I use personally, but that will give you all of the intraday. So basically, in the market, and this is a valid point, and then we'll run through the rest of the stocks that we're looking at. But this is a good question. And let me just delete this because we don't need it. Delete this because we don't need it. And delete this. So basically, in the market, with all the volume that happens, retail traders are only really about 3.5% of the actual volume in the market. So a lot of these bigger guys, the institutions, they try to sneak in their plays without being noticed, right? Because they're moving a lot of money in the markets. So you have all of these, you'll see all these little volume spikes. That's where institutions, for the most part, are coming in, right? That's where they have some kind of interest. Once you typically see some type of a breakout, right? So let's say this line breaks down here. This is the highest point on Tesla with that red line that automatically draws. That's the highest volume of the day at that price. So if you're looking at candlesticks and you see the volume on the bottom, like my other screen, you're just seeing like in that candle, lots of volume came in. This is actually telling you the volume per price that it comes in. So at that price, you're getting the highest volume. You're getting a lot of institutionals to protect it. So what ends up happening is once this thing comes down, as it pushes back into those and kind of rechecks that, those institutions are now trying to protect their positions. And typically you'll use those as some kind of support resistance zones, right? So that's VPOC. So most of them end up getting retested. If we go back, I mean, we were calling it off of this the other day. We had VPOC all the way down here. This was back in February 22 that never got retested. So we just catapulted out of there. We started to pull back. That was the same price, roughly the same price in that zone that we had that last bounce on Tesla. And now with this move up, we have a lot more positions that just never came back during the day. You'll see here, you have that initial breakout. So you don't want to chase those breakouts, right? So you have high VPOC right here. There's your breakout. Again, you don't want to really be chasing up there. What you want to try to do is set your order right at that institutional buy where that high volume is, and then you're looking to play that up. So it's good to play around with. I would definitely suggest adding it to your charts because that's actually determining VPOC is actually determining, like, all of the other indicators, the 10 EMA, the 100, the 1000 EMA, the 1 million EMA, they're all nonsense lines. They're all based off of past movement of the stock. VPOC is the only thing that we actually have to know, like, where actual people are buying or selling stocks and how heavy that they're coming in. So for Tesla, when I'm looking at Tesla, I'm like, all right, well, right now this yellow line is pre-market. So this blue line is my 10 EMA. As this thing starts to come down, we didn't really check. I mean, we broke here. This was kind of a test into it. But the next spot, there's no volume. Like, there's no volume, no real resistance, really, until back at 946.56, where that last big heavy volume spike is. And this VPOC down here was never really tested. It's 920. Right. So I'd be looking for either take my position, or if I get into a trade, make sure that I get my 2-to-1 risk reward down to that spot, because that should be a decently protected area with that volume. Or the next case, I mean, this one was never really tested either or protected. So 920 would be my next target. Makes sense? All right, let me get back to the stocks. Yep, it comes down to, like, the entire market. Like, people are like, it's manipulation. It's true. It is true. The guys with the big bankrolls, they typically have a little bit more flexibility to make the market do what it needs to. All right, let's see. Yep, no problem, Paul. Roblox on a daily chart. So again, you had a decent amount of bullishness. $50 has been a resistance. We did break through it at one point. Today we're opening below that again. Rando volume spike for the actual chart came in right there. That's a good blow off top. Right there, breaking out new highs, huge volume, great breakdown if you could get into it at that point. And then pre-market, we're well below that. And so again, we do have that 21 EMA maybe supporting it. The 10 EMA is still creeping up a little bit higher on a daily, but at an interesting, you're still retesting the top of this candle. So you are opening right now, if this is where it opens, at a decent support zone for a Roblo. Let me see targets if we do bounce higher. Again, $50 was some type of resistance. VPOC is at 50.61. To the downside, you're looking at 49.09 and 49.02. So that should prove to be holding there for a little bit. Otherwise, anything past $49, I can see targets probably really coming down to about 46.74. So you do have some downside potential, but probably at open, unless we start to break and hold below $49, I wouldn't really be interested in, probably realistically either way. DAL. So Delta, pretty decent gap. We are at the 21 EMA, but most of anybody that did buy yesterday, they are trapped on that train. You're also under any of the bulls that came in there from 2 days ago on Monday, and some bulls that came in up there. So Delta has also been just pretty much a wild ride. I hope that's not part of their advertising program, but a little bit of support where it's at. Let me see Delta. Yeah, we are sitting at a yearly VPOC, like to the penny. I'll definitely need some time for this one to open. So far, everything that we looked at, I believe, is inside gap, inside day. So we can't really take anything out of the gate. I'd be waiting on Delta regardless. And then the last one we'll take a look at is Apple, as per the 6 that we're looking for. Apple. Charts. I mean, bullish engulfing candle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Strong candles on Apple. Apple was holding relatively decent yesterday. We were grinding on that 10 EMA on a 15-minute. Looks to be where we're opening is below that point. I would be looking, if we do get any kind of a bounce, which is I think the healthier solution, we get some kind of a quick bounce higher. I would say to the upside, 168.49 is going to be a tough spot for it to break. And then to the downside, I mean, again, there's just a lot of open air. Almost down to, I don't know if this hits today, but 164.53, I think eventually has to hit at a minimum situation. Otherwise, even like 159.69 at some point. I'm not a believer that the market is not coming down anymore. Too much unknowns in the market still. Inflation's still an issue, broader problems. Still, you got Ukraine and Russia. Who knows if China and Taiwan become a thing? I don't know, but you got oil. Let me take a look at crude real quick. Crude oil. Yep, crude is up 3.8%, so well above $100 a barrel again. Straight shot up after we broke some decent resistance, so that should start weighing on the market. That should also start weighing on a lot of like Carnival Cruise. I believe RCL, Royal Caribbean, they did hedge earlier, so they did have they already purchased all their oil. All the other guys have not. So at least Royal Caribbean's in a little bit of a better situation, but all cruise ships are going to be still a tough investment for a long time. This one's gapping down. CCL, if this starts to break realistically around this 118.60 zone, there's really nothing in the way, at least until 17.95, and probably will end up closing this gap at 15.86 to some extent. Coinbase, that one is down. It's down, but right now we did have one random candle spike, and that one is actually jumping into the retest zone. Let me just see coin, VPOC, COIN. Yep, you got VPOC at 186.94. 186.94. So if we do go a little bit bullish, that's probably the spot that stops. And then to the downside, we're looking at 183.57. So not a lot of movement there. Nothing too crazy. Some of the meme stocks are coming back, unfortunately. Just unfortunately. A little bit of a gap up on GameStop. You're starting to see some rotation to this. This one will be a fun one to watch today. Let me see. Not that I think it really matters on this one, because but 120.17 on GameStop is a longer term VPOC. So anything, if you could get anything off of that 120, whatever I just said, 120.17 zone. 120, yeah, somewhere in that 120.17 zone. That'd be a good spot to try, at least. I don't know if it comes back that far or not. The next reel to the upside, you got a lot up here. You got a lot. Yeah, this thing probably fades. I don't know. I'm not a believer. They did partner with like Loopring, some crypto thing. So both of those guys, I think Loopring was up like 40% this morning. 2020 all over again. The gorillas thought if it worked once, why not try it again? Same thing. So AMC just kind of following along GameStop. GameStop was probably the more, a little bit more of the driver. Delta putting a wild candle at open so far. And we have under 1 minute. So unfortunately, this time I got to say goodbye to all of the YouTube friends. Also says volume point of control. Yep, that is correct. VPOC is volume point of control. All you guys in YouTube land, make sure you guys hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you have not already. It just makes me feel good about myself. So make sure you guys do that, and we will catch all of you guys tomorrow. Take it easy, guys.